All right, so we're back for another deep dive. And today we're going to be tackling a story that feels like it was ripped straight out of Hollywood. It's
Hmm.
the story of Notre Dame's incredible and like totally unexpected run to the national championship game.
Yeah, I think unexpected is definitely the word for it. Their journey wasn't like a slow and steady climb you often see from those top contenders. They actually had a huge setback early on.
Yeah, setback might be putting it lightly. I mean, picture this, right? Notre Dame, ranked number 5 in the country, playing on their home turf.
Yeah.
And they get completely destroyed by Northern Illinois.
Oof.
And we're not talking about just any loss here. This is a loss to a team that was projected to lose by almost 30
It
points.
was a shocker. I mean, just
Yep.
totally unexpected. Northern Illinois, they outplayed them in pretty much every way.
Mhm.
Gained over 100 more yards than Notre Dame, and even blocked 2 field goals. Like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, that's wild. It really makes you wonder how a team can even bounce back from something like that, especially when you consider this was Marcus Freeman's first year as head coach. I mean, the pressure must have been immense. I can't even imagine what that loss did for the team's morale or the fans' perception or even just like Freeman's own confidence.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's true that a loss like that could have totally derailed their whole season. But what's fascinating is that Freeman, he actually used it as a turning point. Instead of like brushing it aside or ignoring it, he really encouraged the team to lean into the discomfort, the pain of that loss.
Hmm.
He even he even said, "In your lowest moments, you find out the most about yourself."
Ooh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And it sounded like the team really took those words to heart too. I mean, they went on to win their next 12 games straight, completely turning their season around.
Exactly. And they weren't just winning like by a little bit. They were dominating. I mean, with an average margin of victory over, get this, 27 points.
That's insane. But they didn't get through the season without any bumps and bruises along the way.
Right. Weren't there some pretty significant injuries that they had to deal with? I mean, it feels like every great underdog story has to have some extra hurdles to overcome.
Oh yeah, definitely. They had their fair share of challenges. I mean, some of their star players went down, including Benjamin Morrison, like an amazing All-American cornerback, and then Riley Mills, who was just dominant on the defensive line.
So, I mean, how did they keep winning? How did they keep this momentum going with these key players sidelined? I mean, that just adds like another layer to this whole improbable comeback story.
I think it all comes back to what we were talking about before, resilience. This team, they found a way to adapt and to overcome. They weren't just relying on like a couple of star players. It really felt like everyone stepped up when they were needed. Okay, so they're on this incredible winning streak, defying all these expectations after that early, slip up. But their biggest test was still to come,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Take us to the Orange Bowl, their semifinal matchup against Penn State.
All right. So the Orange Bowl,
Yeah.
that was a nail biter. It wasn't like some of the regular season wins where they just kind of cruised to victory. This was a back and forth battle that really, really put their resilience to the test.
Yeah, I bet. So, what were some of the defining moments of that game?
Well, it was a game full of unexpected heroes, which I think speaks to the depth of this team. Take Mitch Jeter, for example. He's their kicker, and he had been battling injuries like all season long. And just imagine the pressure he was under in this game with a trip to the national championship on the line.
Yeah, oh man, I can't even imagine. Poor guy.
Well, he actually ended up kicking the game-winning field goal
Yeah.
in the final seconds of the game. Like, talk about a storybook moment, right?
Wow. That's incredible. That's the kind of stuff that makes you like believe in, destiny or something.
I know. Totally. And he wasn't the only hero of that game. Remember Christian Gray, that sophomore cornerback? He was actually the one who intercepted the ball to set up Jeter's winning kick.
It's like every player on this team was just like waiting for their moment to like shine, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you also had Jaden Greathouse, this wide receiver, who just absolutely exploded in this game. He had this amazing 54-yard touchdown catch that tied the game in the fourth quarter.
So they're battling back and forth. The tension is mounting with each play. Like, were there any other standout players that we should know about?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So Jeremiah Love, one of their running backs, he was playing with a knee injury, but you wouldn't have even known it by watching him. He scored a crucial touchdown, and he just refused to be stopped.
It sounds like this team was just built on pure grit and determination. Like nothing was going to stop them.
And we can't forget Steve Angeli, the backup quarterback. Riley Leonard, he had to leave the game for a little bit because of a possible concussion, and so Angeli, he steps in and he leads the team on a critical scoring drive. They really had contributions from, like, every corner of the team.
It's amazing how these moments of adversity can sometimes just reveal those like hidden strengths within a team. It's like that early loss to Northern Illinois. It's like it lit a fire under them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they tapped into some hidden reserve of willpower
Yeah.
and used it to fuel this incredible run.
So let's dig into that, right? Like what drove that transformation? How they go from this like devastating loss to embodying this like never give up attitude. I'm guessing Coach Freeman's leadership played a pretty big role in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. He
Yeah.
definitely had, like, a very specific philosophy about how to handle setbacks, and it clearly resonated with the players.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. What was it about Freeman's leadership that made such a difference? Was it his coaching style? Was it his way of communicating, or was it something else entirely?
Well, it was kind of a combination of things, but one thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on selflessness. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't about individual glory for him. It was about putting the team first.
That's interesting. But how do you actually put that into practice?
Yeah.
Like did he have any specific strategies or techniques that he used to really foster that kind of team first mentality?
He did some really interesting things, actually. For
Yeah.
one, he had this rule where every player, I mean, regardless of their position or like how long they've been on the team, their seniority, everyone had to spend time working with the equipment staff.
Really? Wow, that's pretty different from the typical star player treatment you often hear about in college football.
Right.
Oh,
Totally. And the players, they weren't just like folding towels or anything. They were learning how to repair helmets, clean cleats, like all that behind the scenes work that goes into keeping a team running.
oh, I love that. I mean, it's like a built-in reminder that everyone contributes. Like everyone has a role to play, no matter how big or small.
Exactly. And the players actually talked about how it helped break down some of those barriers between, like, the different positions and the different class years.
Yeah.
They started to see each other more as equals, as
That
part of like a collective effort.
that's a powerful lesson. And it goes way beyond football too, right? I mean, it makes me think about how in any organization, acknowledging and valuing everyone's contributions, even those like seemingly unglamorous ones, it can create a much stronger, more cohesive team.
For sure. Absolutely. And Freeman, he didn't stop there. He also implemented this pretty unusual practice schedule where
Yeah.
he would intentionally mix up the players on different drills and scrimmages.
So it wasn't just the starters always practicing together. That's a pretty unconventional approach. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, it forced the players to step outside of their comfort zones,
Yeah.
you know, and learn how to collaborate with teammates that they might not normally interact with on the field. And it also helped them develop a deeper understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses.
So it sounds like Freeman was really, really intentional about breaking down those traditional hierarchies and fostering a sense of like unity,
Yeah.
and shared purpose among the team.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just about talent or individual skill. It was about creating a culture where everyone felt valued and supported, but also accountable to each other.
So it wasn't just lip service. He was really weaving this idea of selflessness and teamwork into like the very fabric of their practices and how they interacted with each other.
Totally, yeah. And the players, they talk about how this approach, it created a much stronger bond between them.
Hmm.
They started to see themselves as more than just teammates. They became a true family.
That's something you hear a lot in sports, right? The whole team is family thing. But it sounds like in this case, it wasn't just a cliche. It was something that Freeman actively cultivated.
Oh, it really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this idea of a championship mindset was
Yeah.
another big part of Freeman's philosophy. He believed that mental toughness and resilience were just as important as physical ability.
Okay, so we've heard this term championship mindset a few times now, but like what exactly does that mean? Is it just a fancy way of saying never give up?
It's more than that. It's about having a specific set of mental habits and beliefs that allow you to perform at your best, even when you're under pressure. Like, one key element is the ability to control your emotions and to stay focused on the task at hand, no matter what's happening around you.
So it's about having that inner strength and discipline to not get rattled by setbacks or let your emotions kind of get the better of you.
Right. And it's also about having a growth mindset, like the belief that you can always learn and improve even from your mistakes.
So for Freeman, it wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about using every experience, even the tough ones, as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Exactly. He instilled this idea in his players that setbacks weren't failures. They were opportunities. Opportunities for growth. And that's something we can all apply to our own lives, right? It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about learning how to navigate them and come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah, it's like that famous quote. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Exactly. And Freeman, he had this incredible ability to not just talk about these concepts, but actually embody them.
Yeah.
The players, they saw him living out these principles every day, and that made a huge impact.
Yeah. I can see how that kind of authenticity would really resonate with the players. It's one thing to preach a philosophy, it's another to actually, walk the walk.
Right, right. He didn't just tell them to be selfless. He showed them what selflessness looked like by rolling up his sleeves and working alongside them both on and off the field.
It sounds like he created a culture where everyone, including himself, was accountable to the same like high standards.
Exactly. And that's where true leadership shines. Not just in words, but in actions.
So going back to the Orange Bowl for a second, do you see any specific examples of this championship mindset playing out in that game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about Mitch Jeter, the kicker, who nailed that game-winning field goal. He had been struggling with injuries all season, but he never lost faith in himself.
Yeah.
He kept practicing, kept pushing himself, and when it mattered most, he delivered.
I mean, that takes an incredible amount of mental fortitude,
Yeah.
to push through the doubt and the physical pain and still be able to perform at such a high level.
Exactly. And that's a perfect example of what Freeman was trying to instill in his team.
It wasn't just about talent, it was about having the grit, the determination, and that like unwavering belief to overcome any obstacle.
Precisely. And then you have Christian Gray, the sophomore cornerback who made that crucial interception. He wasn't even a starter at the beginning of the season, but he kept working hard preparing for his opportunity. And when it came, he was ready.
It's like the whole team had this like next man up mentality. They were prepared to step in and contribute no matter what their role was.
That's right. And that's another hallmark of a championship mindset, right?
Yeah.
Being adaptable, being ready to embrace any challenge that comes your way.
So we've got this team that embodies selflessness, resilience, and a growth mindset. And it's clear that Freeman's leadership played a huge role in shaping this culture.
Oh, without a doubt. He
Yeah.
didn't just coach them on the field. He helped them develop the mental and emotional tools they needed to succeed at the highest level.
And that's what's so fascinating about this story, right? It's not just about football. It's about the power of leadership, the importance of culture,
Mhm.
and the potential that lies within each of us to overcome adversity and achieve extraordinary things.
Absolutely. It's a story that transcends sports and speaks to something much deeper about the human spirit.
Okay, so we've explored Freeman's leadership, this idea of a championship mindset and how it played out on the field. But what does all of this mean for our listeners? Like what are the key takeaways from this story that they can apply to their own lives?
I think for me the biggest takeaway is that resilience isn't like this magical quality that you either have or you don't, right? It's something that you can build and you can cultivate and you can strengthen over time.
I completely agree. Yeah, and Notre Dame's story really gives us like a roadmap for how to do that.
Right.
It starts with acknowledging your setbacks, not
Yeah.
not trying to ignore them or pretend like they didn't happen.
Right, right. It's about leaning into those uncomfortable moments and asking yourself like, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to actually grow? Yeah, exactly. And it's also about finding strength in your community, in the people around you. Notre Dame's players, they didn't achieve this incredible turnaround on their own. They had each other. They had their coaches and they had like this shared belief in something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, that sense of community, that shared purpose, it really seems to be like a recurring theme here. It's like that saying, right? If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together.
Ooh, that's so true. Yeah. And it's a good reminder that we don't have to face our challenges alone. there's strength in vulnerability,
Yeah.
in reaching out to others for support and guidance.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, myself included, have this tendency to just want to tough it out on our own, like
Yeah.
try to solve our problems independently. But this story, it's such a powerful reminder that there's incredible power in leaning on others,
Mhm.
in allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and ask for help when we need it.
Absolutely. And it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It takes courage to admit when you need help, to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Notre Dame's incredible journey, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Oh, I like this. Lay it on me.
So think about a time in your own life when you faced a major setback. It could be anything, right? A professional failure, a personal loss, a time when you felt like you're just completely off track.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something as dramatic as losing a football game. It could be any situation where you felt stuck or defeated or unsure of how to move forward.
Right. Now I want you to ask yourself, how did you respond to that setback? Did you allow it to define you, to hold you back, or did you find a way to learn from it, to grow from it, and to come back even stronger?
Hmm. Yeah, this is about taking a moment to just reflect on your own resilience. You know, like what are your go-to strategies for navigating those tough times, and are there any areas where you could be more intentional about cultivating that championship mindset that we've been talking about?
Exactly. Maybe it's about being more proactive in seeking out support from others. Maybe it's about being more mindful of your self-talk,
Yeah.
and challenging those negative thought patterns. Or maybe it's just about giving yourself permission to make mistakes, and to learn from them. Or,
Because ultimately that's what the story's all about, right? It's about
Mhm.
recognizing that setbacks are an inevitable part of life,
Mhm.
but they don't have to define us. We always have a choice in how we respond to them.
We can choose to let them defeat us, or we can choose to use them as fuel to become even stronger, even more resilient, even more determined to achieve our goals.
And just like Notre Dame's incredible run to the championship, our greatest triumphs often come after our most difficult moments.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have that potential for greatness within us. It's just a matter of tapping into that potential, embracing the challenges that come our way, and never giving up on ourselves.
Man, that's a fantastic point to end on. It's been a pleasure exploring this story with you, and I hope our listeners found it as inspiring and thought provoking as we have.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.